It started with a single sandwich and a moment of compassion. On a cold November afternoon in Chicago, Sarah Bennett stood outside the coffee shop where she worked part-time. The wind cut through her coat, and the dull gray sky threatened snow. As she sipped the last of her lukewarm coffee, she noticed a man sitting motionless near the alley, wrapped in a threadbare coat with a scruffy beard and dirt-streaked cheeks. His eyes were closed, his hands shaking from the cold. Something about him, maybe the way he sat with quiet dignity despite his condition, moved her. She walked back inside, grabbed the sandwich she'd packed for her own lunch, and without thinking much of it, walked over and handed it to him. He opened his eyes, surprised but silent. He didn't beg or thank her excessively, just nodded once, slowly, with a deep sincerity in his eyes. It was more gratitude than she'd seen from some customers with gold watches. From that day on, it became a routine. Every afternoon, Sarah would save a portion of her lunch or buy something extra to bring him. She never asked his name. He rarely spoke more than a few words. Sometimes, he'd just nod. Sometimes he'd manage a soft, "thank you." But something unspoken grew between them, respect, kindness, humanity. Sarah didn't have much herself. She was 25, juggling 2 part-time jobs to pay off student loans. Her dream of becoming a writer had been put on hold by bills and her mother's medical needs. Her father had passed away 3 years ago, and with her younger brother still in college, the weight of the world often sat on her shoulders. But helping that man, even in that small way, gave her a strange sense of purpose. It reminded her of her father, who used to say, "The smallest kindness can echo forever." But not everyone saw it that way. One day, her boss noticed the missing food and the extra break. "You feeding strays now?" he asked with a sneer. "You're not paid to run a charity." She could have been fired, but she just apologized quietly and changed her routine, sneaking out on her way to the evening shift instead. Her friends didn't understand either. "Why waste your energy on someone who might just be faking it?" they'd say. But she knew what she saw in his eyes wasn't fake. And if it was? She'd rather be kind and wrong than cruel and right. One snowy evening, she noticed he wasn't in his usual spot. She checked around the alley, then the bus stop. Nothing. A strange panic gripped her heart. What if something had happened? What if he was hurt, or worse? She waited an extra hour, freezing and worried, but he never came. The next day, he was back, but different. He looked weaker. Pale. There was blood on his sleeve. "You okay?" she finally asked, breaking their wordless agreement. He looked up, and for the first time, really spoke. "I'll be fine," he rasped. "Just a scrape." "You need a doctor," she insisted. "I'll manage." But Sarah couldn't shake the image. That night, she left her shift early, got a first aid kit, and returned to the alley. To her surprise, he was still there. She knelt beside him, cleaned the wound in silence. When he winced, she said softly, "You don't have to be alone." He looked at her then, with an expression that held decades of pain. "People don't care," he murmured. "They look. But they don't see." "I see you," she whispered. After that, something shifted. He began to talk. Slowly, cautiously. He never gave away much, only small stories about music he used to love, cities he once visited, people he missed. She learned he liked jazz. That he read poetry. That he once had a dog named Milo. Still, she never asked about his past. She figured if he wanted her to know, he'd tell her. Weeks passed, then months. Then, one day, he was gone. No sign. No message. His blanket, cup, everything, vanished. Sarah was heartbroken. Had he moved on? Had something happened to him? For days, she looked for him in different parts of the city, asked around shelters, even called hospitals. No trace. Life moved on, but a strange emptiness followed her. She still packed food every day, hoping he might return. A year passed. Then, one morning, a black car pulled up in front of her tiny apartment building. A man in a suit knocked on her door. "Ms. Bennett?" he asked. "Mr. David Langford would like to see you." She froze. The name meant nothing to her. But the man handed her a letter. Inside was a handwritten note. "You once gave me food when I had nothing. But more than that, you gave me dignity. You saved my life, Sarah. I owe you a truth. Please come." The address led her to an estate in the suburbs. Wide lawns, a mansion straight out of a movie. Confused and cautious, she walked in and found him, clean-shaven, in a tailored suit, standing by the fireplace. Her mouth fell open. It was him. The man from the alley. "David Langford," he said, extending his hand. "CEO of Langford Ventures." She couldn't speak. He explained everything. He had lost his wife and daughter in a tragic car accident 3 years ago. Devastated, he vanished from his world, fame, fortune, corporate power, donning a disguise and walking the streets, trying to find meaning again. He felt like a ghost. Money couldn't comfort him. But her kindness? That brought him back to life. "You reminded me that people can still care. That I wasn't invisible," he said. "And I needed to know it was real. That someone could be good without knowing there was anything to gain." Tears streamed down her cheeks. Then he smiled and handed her a folder. Inside was a scholarship to any writing program she wanted. A grant for her mother's treatment. A publishing opportunity for her short stories. "I can't pay back what you gave me," he said. "But I can make sure your kindness echoes." Today, Sarah Bennett is a best-selling author. Her debut novel, The Alley of Kindness, sits on shelves around the world. And in every interview, she tells the story, not of a millionaire in disguise, but of the power of unseen goodness. The man you ignore today might carry a broken heart. The woman you help might save your soul. Kindness, as her father once said, echoes forever. And sometimes, it comes back with interest.